here with former world champion and boxing legend Barry Michael. Barry, a very unique end to the Nikita Tszyu Michael Zerafa fight the other night. I just want to get your reaction to what happened there.
Look, very unfortunate for boxing, the whole thing. I thought Zerafa came out and he landed some good shots in the first round, but Nikita wore him well and came back and I thought he was winning the second round. Was basically working Zerafa out. Then of course we had the issue with the head clash, and look, to be honest with you, there was very little blood. And unfortunate for Michael, he did say that he couldn't see. There's proof, and then he denied it 5 minutes later. And when the doctor asked him, "Can you see?" and he said no, the doctor's got no choice but to stop the fight. So, just very unfortunate. Just a very sad thing because it was developing. It was looking like it was going to be a hell of a fight.
Mm. What did you make of, I guess, Michael? He sort of changed the story there and said that he didn't say that he couldn't see, but it was clear on the audio that he did say that. I mean, what did you make of that?
It makes him look bloody stupid, to be honest. It's very unfortunate, and look, maybe he was confused in the situation, but it is what it is. He did say that he couldn't see, and then he denied it 5 minutes later. So denied that he said that. So, and look, the doctor had no choice after he said he couldn't see. The doctor is a duty of care, as a doctor in a big fight like that, he had no choice but to stop it. And just terrible, a terrible blow for boxing. I mean, what does Michael Zerafa do from here? Who would promote him now? What promoter would want to promote him? And look, the amount of people we were there. We were about 5 rows. My girl and I were about 5 rows from the front, and they were throwing cans and screaming, and it was almost a riot. So yeah, a rematch, I don't think people would go, to be honest. And who's going to want to see a rematch?
Mm.
Where does Zerafa go from here? I mean, what option has he got? And there's all this talk about him being banned for life by the by the Australian Boxing Federation, I guess. But I don't even know if they can do that, to be honest. It's going to be interesting to see what happens from here.
Obviously, you're not in Michael Zerafa's head, but I thought he had a decent first round, but in the second round, Nikita sort of made it more physical. Could you sort of comprehend in any way why Michael would take an easy way out if that's what he's done in this instance?
Well, he might have felt Nikita's power. Look, to be honest with you, I predicted that I thought Michael Zerafa would be a chance of winning within the first 4. But if Nikita got over that, got his chin warmed up, because he is a bit susceptible early, which happened in the first. But in the second, he was a different beast. And I just felt that after 4 rounds, Nikita would, if he'd worked him out, would get on top. And I think that's what was potentially happening. And maybe Michael felt the power and the strength of Nikita, because he is a beast. And I don't know. Look, who knows what went through Michael Zerafa's head? But saying what he said and then denying it does, unfortunately, make him look very bad.
Is there any way back for Michael Zerafa in this instance, Barry?
Beg your pardon?
Is there any sort of way back for Michael here? We saw John.
I've been thinking about it a lot. And Jai, seriously, what does he do? What promoter is going to put their hand up and say, "Okay, I want to promote him"? And if anyone does, who's going to go? People are that dirty. They're going to say, "Well, we're not paying to see anything like that." Potentially, the chance of seeing something like that again. So it puts Zerafa in a really difficult position. To be honest with you, I think it's and look, he'll be remembered forever as doing the wrong thing. It's very unfortunate for him, and I just hope from his mental health, hope his mental health state will be okay considering what's happened, because I can't see a way out of this for him unless he goes overseas and fights somewhere else and works his way back. I can't. He's going to be probably ridiculed for wherever he goes in Australia from here. I just can't see an answer to it, to be honest.
Mm. And when you look at guys like Jai McAllister who fought with broken jaws, even those cuts that Jeff Horn sustained in those fights against Michael Zerafa, it's not a good look.
It's not a good look. Look, I said to someone, one of my fights in Hawaii, I fought a black American called Mike Anderson, who went back and knocked out the number 2 in the world in 2 rounds in his next fight. And I won a unanimous decision, but he elbowed me, he butted me. He was the only fighter I fought a 10-rounder with, and I didn't want to shake his hand after the fight. I ended up with 76 stitches over both eyes, plastic surgery over both eyes, and won a unanimous decision. And I bled shitloads, don't worry. And look, Michael wasn't even hardly bleeding the other night. Unfortunately, it was in a bad position, the cut, because it was in the eyelid, which is dangerous because it will bleed straight into your eye. But, he did say he couldn't see, and then minutes later he denied that, which, people are never going to forget it. And, I was talking to one guy had flown over from Perth with his wife. He said it cost him $7,000 airfares, accommodation, and the ringside tickets. And, he was absolutely filthy. He said he would never go again. And it's just, look, I feel really sorry for No Limit because, it was a good, really good undercard, some terrific prospects on the undercard. And just the main event, deflated the whole thing, unfortunately.
What does this do for? I'm sure boxing will bounce back, but it's not a good time, I guess, for Australian boxing right now. What impact does this have?
Yeah, no, look, to be honest with you, as I said, No Limit, they've been promoting some great shows, pay-per-view shows with Timmy Tszyu and with Nikita and, top shows they put on and Liam Wilson and, a lot of top prospects. But, this was a big fight, big pay-per-view fight, one of the biggest grudge matches for a long time. And it ended up a complete fizzer. And it's going to put people off, paying that $70 or whatever it is, $65 for pay-per-view or, fortunes for ringside seats. The hall was pretty well full. And it holds about 10,000. And I don't know what the pay-per-view numbers were, but I reckon they'd be pretty substantial. But so many people are now going to say, oh, shit, I'm not going. I won't be paying that money. I won't be paying that $70. It just makes it very difficult for the promoters and for the future of boxing. We need good domestic fights are great for boxing, obviously. I don't know what's going to happen from here. I don't know what No Limit are going to do, but they do put on great shows, and they'll find a way to come back from this, I believe.
Now, just last one for you. I'm sure Michael will try and talk his way out of this and, provide his perspective and point of view. When you hear that, I guess, moving forward, how do you feel about that? I'm sure we'll see Michael come out and say, I got head butted and all that sort of thing. How does that sit with you?
Oh, look, to be honest with you, I don't think there's not much that he can say that's going to make him look good because the evidence there, what happened, unfortunately for him. And, you look at the thousands of comments that have been made on social media. I don't think there's 1% of them that are positive towards Michael. They're all bad. So I'd hate to be in the position he's in. It's very unfortunate because, look, he certainly is world class, Michael Zerafa. He got starched by Arislani Lara, but world title fight. He got knocked out by Peter Quillen, a very good Cuban. He's only lost to the best. But where does his career go now? Who wants to help him from here? It's going to be very, very difficult for him to get going again. And maybe, as he said, maybe he should walk away from the sport. But unfortunately, for the rest of his life, people are going to hold it against him. I don't know. I can't see a way around it, to be honest.
All right, Barry. Always appreciate your time, mate. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, mate. All the best. We're on the freeway, as you can probably hear, and up on the Gold Coast. It's pretty bloody busy, I can tell you. Anyway, all the best, mate.
Thank you, sir.